Shalom from Israel. I'm Lars Enarson with an update in the war against Iran. It is Wednesday, March 18. This is the 19th day of this war. The war is raging full force still here in Israel. The missiles are coming in from Iran still, and they have these dangerous cluster bombs in these missiles that spread out over an extended area, causing a lot of damage. A lot of people are being hurt, but thank God, almost no one has died from these missiles. It's a pure miracle. And also, of course, the hundreds of missiles raining in over Israel from Lebanon through Hezbollah. It is a very dangerous situation in the north. But God is watching over His people. Just the last few nights there have been 2 explosions from missiles that have landed in the area around us here without any pre-warning, no alarm that we heard. It is not a complete 100% safe system that Israel has, but God is defending His people. He is fighting for Israel against this evil that has raised up here in the Middle East against Israel. And now we're sensing there is victory that is ahead of us, and there are many indications of that, not least that just the night between Monday and Tuesday this week, Israel was able to kill the main leader in Iran, the de facto leader of Iran behind the scenes. Ali Larijani was killed in his apartment 10 minutes before 2 o'clock in the morning, and this was something that Israel did without any help from the United States. It was a completely Israeli operation. He is the one that has actually held Iran in his grip. More than Ayatollah Khamenei that was killed on the first day of this war. So this is a major breakthrough, and Israel particularly is very successful in knocking out all of these leaders now of this tyrannical regime that has plagued Iran, persecuted, tortured, imprisoned Christians and other people who have opposed the government for such a long time. The time for freedom is about to come. And we sense there is a shift in the war now towards victory in a way that we have not felt before. And we thank God for this. I have been reminded about a prophetic word that was spoken in April 1986 on Mount Carmel by one of the giants, spiritual giants that we've had in this generation in the land of Israel, the Bible teacher Lance Lambert. This prophecy has been well known for a long time. I've heard about it. I mean, it's 40 years since it was spoken now, almost exactly. And I want to quote part of this prophetic word because it is what we are seeing now before our very eyes. And it's so encouraging. It encourages us to pray for a complete victory over this evil terrorist regime in Iran that has spoken death and destruction over Israel and America for almost 50 years. So let me read this prophetic word. And remember, this was spoken a few years before the Iron Curtain was torn down, before the Berlin Wall came down and communism fell. So listen to what God said through this man of God, Lance Lambert, in 1986. And hear this: do not fear the power of the Kremlin, in other words, the Soviet Union, nor the power of the Islamic Revolution. talking about the mullah regime in Tehran that is now about to fall. For I plan to break both of them through Israel. I will bring down their pride and their arrogance and shatter them because they have blasphemed my name. In that day I will avenge the blood of all the martyrs and of the innocent ones whom they have slaughtered. I will surely do this thing, for they have thought that there was no one to judge them. But I have seen their ways, and I have heard the cries of the oppressed and of the persecuted, and I will break their power and make an end of them. Be therefore prepared, for when all this comes to pass, to you will be given the last great opportunity to preach the gospel freely to all the nations. Wow. Just as there was a breakthrough for the gospel after the fall of communism in Soviet Union, shortly after this prophetic word was spoken, there is going to be an openness for the gospel in the Middle East to the Muslim nations after the fall of this terrorist regime in Iran. And so we need to continue to pray until full victory. And let me also remind you that there is no coincidence that this war started exactly on the Sabbath before Purim, when the Jewish people read in the synagogues all over the world about the defeat of Amalek. And that's the battle that we are seeing now. In fact, at that very moment, the modern-day Haman, Ali Khamenei, was executed in Iran in the beginning of this war. So there is no coincidence that this war began during the Feast of Purim. When it comes to Israel, nothing is a coincidence. And there is a connection that the Jewish sages have seen for thousands of years between the Feast of Purim 30 days before the Feast of Passover. And if this war has started during Purim, we believe God wants to bring it to a completion during Passover through a miraculous intervention by His mighty hand. And that is what I want to encourage all of you to pray for. Now, one of the scriptures that indicates this and that the rabbis refer to when they say that the final redemption through the Messiah will be like the first redemption through Moses. And listen what it says in Micah chapter 7 from verse 15. As in the days when you came out of the land of Egypt. When did that happen? During Passover. And that's the feast that we are entering into now in a little bit more than 2 weeks. But here is something talking about a future connected to the Exodus of Egypt, to the timing of the Exodus from Egypt, I should say. I will show them marvelous things. The nations shall see and be ashamed of all their might. They shall lay their hands on their mouths, their ears shall be deaf. And then the end of next verse, they shall come trembling out of their strongholds. They shall turn in dread to the Lord our God, and they shall be in fear of you. We talked about Psalm 83 in the previous update. Please continue also to pray along Psalm 83. But here we have another indication. But it's specific of revival coming after God defeating the enemies of Israel. But it's specifically connected to Passover in this passage. And so we believe that God is going to do miraculous things for Israel that will open up the nations to understand that the God of Israel is the only true God. And just like the revival came in Eastern Europe and in Russia after the fall of communism, there's going to be revival in the Middle East after the fall of the terrorist regime in Iran. I want to encourage all of you to celebrate a Jewish Messianic Passover meal this year and pray for Israel. This is so powerful in the midst of what is happening right now. And in the description below this YouTube, you can see a link to our Passover Haggadah, where we also encourage people to spend an evening in intercessory prayer for Israel and revival in the church. So God bless you for being a watchman on the walls of Jerusalem at this crucial, historic moment. Now is the time to cry out to God as never before for a complete triumph over the evil that has raised up against Israel, the head of the snake in Iran. It is time for freedom for the persecuted believers in Iran. We believe it, and God is going to be faithful to save His people through the intercessory prayer of those who cry out to God. So stand with us right now, specifically as we approach the Feast of Passover, and may God richly bless you. Shalom from Israel. I'm Lars Enarson.